Today we have two outstanding members with us, and they're not just members, they're also part of our DNA team. We have Ankita Rao and Mihir Sanganee. I'm going to introduce both of them and tell you a little bit about Ankita and Mihir, and then we're going to dive straight into today's topic, which is part two of one-to-ones. So, Ankita has just completed 3 years in BNI. Hello, Ankita.
Hi, that's right.
And in this 3 short years, because 3 years is still relatively a short time in BNI these days, Ankita has done over 400 one-to-ones. She averages one-to-ones like at least three one-to-ones a week or possibly more. And she's done over 400 one-to-ones. She's generated 500 referrals in this time. And I always like it when I see that the number of referrals members generate, if it's more than the one-to-ones they're doing, then they're really doing something right. Because I know many members, they do lots and lots of one-to-ones, and then when you say, okay, so how much business or referrals have you been able to generate, and it's not so much. So, of course, Ankita is absolutely on the right track, and she's generated a whopping 6 million dirhams worth of business. So that's just incredible, Ankita. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't realize it so much, you don't, when you keep going, and then it's just when you're mentioning, even I'm thinking, who are the 400 people that I met?
Well, it may not be 400 people you
Yes,
met. Some of these are repeat one-to-ones,
yes,
but it
yes.
just means that
Or a
so
two-way.
you invested so
Yes,
much time, right?
correct,
So
correct.
Ankita is a member at the BNI Insomniacs. She's our director consultant supporting our BNI Gazelles chapter. And then we also have Mihir Sanganee here this morning. Mihir has actually been in BNI slightly longer than Ankita, over 4 years. And I think by the end of this year, Mihir will be five, right?
Five.
Wow, the magic five. So Mihir has also done, over 400 one-to-ones in this period. He's generated something like 540 or so referrals, and he's also generated a whopping 5.2 million dirhams in business. And when you calculate, the actual, so the way I calculate it is each referral that they give, how much has it been worth on average? Of course, not all referrals are guaranteed business, but if you look at it that way, then it works out to between 10 to 12,000 dirhams. Or if you are to look at, each one-to-one they've had, how much is it worth for somebody? Because this is business that they've generated for others, not for themselves. And that, is anything between 15 to 20,000 dirhams. So imagine when you do a one-to-one with Mihir or Gita, the time that you spend, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, that time is going to be, worth something like 15 to 20,000 dirhams. That's serious, right?
That's
So
good.
last month we had spoken about the value of one-to-ones. If you look at the BNI core values, one of them is building relationships, and then through our philosophy of give is gain, it all sort of comes together. So this is the core of it. And we had Prem Bulani, our longest serving member in BNI with us for 17 years, share his journey and his experiences and what he really thinks of one-to-ones. And today I've invited Ankita and Mihir because I've learned something, I would say something new in the last few months. I've been in BNI for 17 years, and it's only after 17 years that I came across something. Now, I'm sure it must have been out there earlier. There are many members, our community is growing. We got close to 700 members. So I'm sure somebody's doing something which I've not picked up. But it was when I was doing a one-to-one with both Ankita and Mihir, I kind of stumbled across this and I was like, wow, how come we haven't seen this before? And I wanted to showcase this to all of you today. So, what is it that I'm talking about? What is the wow that I've come across? I'm going to share just a snippet of the gains sheet that both Ankita and Mir shared with me. I think everybody's familiar with Gains or would be if you're listening to this or watching this already. Gains is a really powerful tool that we use in BNI, and it's been around. I mean, from my days, 17 years ago, I've always known of it right from day one. And it's a great tool to use when you're starting to build relationships with your fellow members. In fact, we're gonna, as far as saying that uh, this is not something you can only use in BNI, but you can use it in your personal life, in your business and professional life as well, with your clients, with your suppliers, with your team members. It's all about relationships. So when you get to know what people's goals are, what they're proud of, what their achievements are, what are their other interests, what other skills do they possess, it gives you a lot of information, and you can find some sort of common connect, which then can, be taken to another level. So that's really what the basis of G.A.I.N.S is. But let me show you what I came across when talking to both Ankita and Mihir. So the first one that I'm gonna share over here is Mihir's G.A.I.N.S sheet over here. So if you want to do a one-to-one with Mihir, this is what you're gonna see. This is the first page of his G.A.I.N.S. I was not expecting this. There is graphics over here. It tells me more about him before even we go into G.A.I.N.S. It tells us his personal information, like what you get from the bio sheet. And then if you look at through the whole presentation, you'll see the kind of work that he's done, what his background is, and then he goes into the G.A.I.N.S and he shares all this. Mir, this is just incredible. And I'm going to be, asking a few questions around this, but I just want the viewers to get a feel of what it is. And viewers, or if you're reading this, you can click on the link and download these G.A.I.N.S profiles for both Mir and Ankita. And you can actually take time to go through this, and you're most welcome to connect with them if you'd like to do one-to-one to them, or get some better insight on how you can improve your G.A.I.N.S using these kind of tools. So that's a tool that I wanted to share um, of Mihir, and I'm going to do something similar for Ankita. So let me pull out Ankita's beautiful G.A.I.N.S as well. So here we are. So this is Ankita. I love that yellow. And that represents part of her brand colors of Freeline. So it tells you, who she is as far as the BNI journey. Insomniac's member, ambassador, and direct consultant. Gazelles. A little bit more about her. Again, what the bio sheet uh, would capture, the kind of work she does. And the beautiful thing about this is it's got images, and that makes it really, really powerful. And both Mihir and Ankita have utilized images in their G.A.I.N.S. So that's really, really amazing, the kind of work she does. And then she's actually got different sheets for each of her G.A.I.N.S acronyms, so her goals, her accomplishments, her interests. So a lot of stuff over here, and you can, go so much deeper into each of these topics. And then towards the end of those G.A.I.N.S, if you look at them, they'll share with you their successes, the kind of clients they're working with, the projects that they work on, and how BNI has really come together for them. So I have some questions for both of you, Ankita and Mihir. Let me start off with Mihir, perhaps. Mihir, tell us, when you first started BNI, was the one-to-ones G.A.I.N.S introduced to you right from day one, or was this something that you came across later? We have an onboarding process, but it all comes down to how chapters implement this. So just walk us through that journey, Mihir, when it came to utilizing the G.A.I.N.S sheet. And now that you've been a member 4 years and you've come across this, how long have you been using this? And what did you do in the beginning? And what are the things that you learned along the way?
Um, okay, so to be absolutely honest, like I think it was in my, I mean, when we had the mentoring, then it was just one mentor over 8 modules of mentoring, which would happen week on week. We didn't have multiple mentors running different uh, strategies towards making the most of your membership. And yes, I mean, I was introduced to the G.A.I.N.S sheet quite early on, and I instantly did, put it all together in general and start sharing it. But somewhere along the line, I think as I got more comfortable and complacent, I would say, I didn't share it as much. Then along the way, I realized that the conversations or the pre-conversations to a one-to-one weren't as strong as they would be. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're doing a one-to-one to try and get to know the other person better, what drives them, what their personality is, because it's like what they say, right? People do business with people. It's not just, it's not just about the money. It's also about who you want to connect with. And then it's only in the one-to-ones when you would be like 20 minutes into it, you would have realized that, oh, we have this common trait, or we interact in a certain circle the same way, or same interests. And then when I realized that there was this whole aspect to it, I did start sharing my gain sheet a lot more in general, because I realized that these were things which allowed me to connect better with people. um, and it wasn't just about the business aspect of it. It was more actually about getting to know the other person better. So now I think every single one-to-one is only with the G.A.I.N sheet. But yes, there was a little lull in the middle where I wasn't as active on it. But this is updated new. It gets updated every 2 weeks, because that's
Wow.
how fast the timelines get changed. And yeah, it is quite it is a very, very, very powerful tool, as especially as an icebreaker for someone you're meeting for the first time. It's phenomenal.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you, Mir. What about you, Ankita? What has your journey been? Is this something that you started using from day one, or was it something that you adapted later? And then how has that journey been for you?
So when I joined, I have a similar story to Mihir. So I updated my online games first because that was a mandatory part of the mentoring. And when I joined the mentoring, it switched to 10 mentors. And at the end of the program, I had to meet our director consultant, Prem. And Prem, I credit Prem with introducing me to the G.A.I.N.S sheet. Because he clearly told me, don't come meet me if you don't have the sheet. And that sheet was phenomenal. It felt like homework, because it was so much work. When he first shared it with me, I told him I filled the online sheet, and he said, no, I want this sheet filled. And he sent me the BNI, the one that's available on BNI Business Builder, and then I filled that in and met him. And then, yeah, similar to Mihir, I got complacent after a few months when I was nearing a 1 year member. And also because I was not just complacent, I was a bit lazy as well, because I had not updated it. So I was feeling a bit awkward to share it, and I would tell members I'll share it next week, and that next week never came. And then I think, with the roles, when you get, when I became ambassador and then DC, you feel the weight of leadership, right? You want to lead by example. So that's when I started reusing and re-looking at it. But even then, I would candidly admit I wasn't as hands-on as I should have been with using the G.A.I.N sheet, because then again, I was pushing off updating it. But then there came a point where I said, no, enough is enough. I really need to have, this in order.
Well, that's quite amazing. And I think the key question is, so most people would understand the gains, I imagine by now. But what both of you have done is enhanced it. And what I just showed, a few moments earlier, you guys have added images, you added so much more. You kind of made it your own. How did that idea come upon? I think one of you probably got it earlier than the other, and then I'm trying to kind of connect the dots here. So perhaps Ankita, maybe you can go first, and then Mihir. Ankita, where did you get this idea? Was it from somebody else, or something that is this something you just woke up one morning and decided, wow, I could actually do this?
So the interesting thing is, all my other documentation outside of BNI is very colorful. So even my BNI notes, I have a bunch of colored sketch pens here. So I live and thrive and work not just as an occupational hazard, but also as a personal preference. I love having colorful stationery. So when so I would credit Jamal from Champions for inspiring me, because I was scheduled to do a one-to-one with him, and he shared his gains sheet. And at that point, I thought it was just him. He made it his own, because his gain sheet was so exciting, because it was fully colorful. It had images, and he's in videography, so he's in a creative line as I am. So I got very excited, and I said, oh, I can do the same. And he captured, his gain sheet captured everything that I needed to know about gains, but he also had links, so I could click on the link and go to his YouTube channel, or his directly to his videos. So which I thought was so cool. So that really inspired me, and I said, oh, I'm going to make something similar. And and then I went all out, all blazing, because it was not, for me, it was not just about the gains, but it was also, a very big part of it was also to showcase what sort of referrals I'm receiving through BNI, because through all one-to-ones, there was a little bit of, I would say, some sort of preconceived notions that a few members were coming to me with, considering, it's an industry that's a lot more technical, the one that we are in. So a lot of times I would keep getting asked, what sort of referrals is BNI giving you? So I wanted to have a segment primarily focused around that, in addition to the game. So this just gave me a great opportunity to make it bright, happening, and just go all out as I would like it to be, and still encapsulate the essence of gains in it.
So how long have you been using this format that you now have?
A couple of months, because I revamped it over the break, over the winter break.
Okay, okay. So it's been a few months.
Few
Fantastic.
months, yeah.
What about you, Mihir? Was it something similar? Did you get this from somebody else? Kita mentioned Jamal. I believe he's in your chapter. So I think we
Yeah.
should probably get Jamal onto one of these days. But yes, do share. How did you come about this, Mihir?
About 2 years ago, we had a one-to-one conclave with the Warriors chapter, and in jest, I don't think Ramesh realized what he ended up doing, but what he ended up doing was make a one-page snapshot that he had prepared for himself, which he could instantly present in one single slide about what it is that he does as a branding consultant. Now, when you actually look at that one pager, you realize that that one page is actually more powerful than the gains by itself because it tells a story. So he sent that link on the chapter group saying that, guys, let's be ready for the conclave. Let's find ways where we can generate business by not just having a chit chat show or a 5 minute speed networking session, but really give them the essence of who we are. So when he shared that PowerPoint presentation, or a single slide that he prepared, I took that for the Warriors conclave, and I think about there were about 5 or 6 of us. But then I decided that this was more powerful than the gains as a flat document itself. Considering that I mean, both Ankit and I both come from the design industry, our images are a lot more powerful than just the text by itself. So then I decided to basically use the gains as a format, but change the way people look at me. And it's important, right? Because in this industry, every time you're doing something, there's always like five other people trying to catch up to that. And if you keep changing the rules of the game, then the game is yours to play. So and this again takes me back to my one of my first mentoring sessions when I sat with Philip Mazlumian, and he when I was cribbing to him about how I wasn't getting the right kind of referrals, and he explained, I don't think he even remembers this, and I keep saying this to him, but he said that think of BNI as a game which works. uh, you now know that there are rules to it which make it work. If you do the bare minimum and the basics right, it will work in your favor, and that's about it. And this is me when I was complaining about not getting the right kind of referrals. So when I keep looking at this again, like it all ties back into the fact that for me this gain street was a game changer in, I mean, yes, there is 100 designers out there, and there's 500 other fit out companies, and there's whatnot in the market. But what defines us, and we're already so powerful on our social networks, we already have the content for it. Then why not build our credibility through these visuals which actually showcase what we do better? And then you just take the gains and you basically make them your own in a different way because you want to share certain aspects of your life slightly more. You might be into meditating, you might be into reading, you might be into something else, but that's your personal element which defines you as compared to just the business that you run. So yeah, I mean, all credit to Ramesh. Honestly, I don't think he knows this, but he should. He's just
Okay, so I think Jamal and Ramesh are two people that we absolutely need to get on this. Thank you for that, Mihir. So the question that comes to me is, you just mentioned both you, Ankita, even if you look at Jamal, if you look at Ramesh, all of you, you come from that sort of creative, what you do professionally. So think about this, if you were to, and what has been your experience when you do your first one-to-one with a new member in BNI, somebody who's just starting out? And the first year in BNI can be the most toughest, really speaking, because think about it. For a first year member, the whole BNI system, first and foremost, weekly meetings and making that commitment and that discipline to attend to this meeting every single week. And then for a lot of people, early mornings, many people are not used to that. So being there every week, early in the morning, and then to have to do all these one-to-ones, do at least one-to-one a week, stand up at each of these meetings and present. So all of these things are new to a new member. And I always say, and I tell our team, our leaders that, when we're mentoring and onboarding new members into BNI, don't assume. I mean, you have been in BNI for long enough, so some of these things we take for granted or we forget. But think back or cast back when you first started your BNI journey. It's not easy. And we really want to make sure that we support our new members the best way we can. So now imagine with all of that, when you do that one-to-one and, they were to come across you or Ankita, and then you show them this. It's wow, but can it feel a bit like, oh my God, will I be able to do this? Does that happen? Or, how would what are your thoughts on that? How do you make sure that a new member, especially, who might not have that sort of creative mindset, is able to still adapt this and say, okay, let me see what I can do with this. What tips would you have for that? And I'll open it to, well, perhaps both of you, I'm sure you'll have your thoughts. Mihir, maybe you want to go first and then Ankita. How would you do this for new members?
I've been using this gain sheet for over a year plus now, and every time I sent it to somebody who was not from probably a creative industry, they just reply back saying, "Oh my God, this is wow." But I come from a very boring line of work, and I don't have something so nice to share. And I said, "Doesn't matter. Share what you have, and we'll talk about it in the one-to-one that we do." That being said, I can personally say that almost every single person that I've done a one-to-one with has eventually ended up changing their gain sheet. Um, so just literally, I want to pick up a couple of names. So there was Karuna from the Champions chapter, and when she saw it, and she's like, "Oh my God, like this is incredible." And I said, "But you, as a HR recruiting consultant, you have clients who you work with that builds your credibility. You have, goals, targets, ambitions. You've been awarded something for being the best recruiter and things. So these are things which are important to showcase as compared to why you're not highlighting it further. I mean, when you see a Pepsi logo, you identify it directly with Pepsi by default, right? You don't think that, oh, it could be another Pepsi from somewhere else. You just know. And when you work with some top tier organizations, then use that to your credibility. When I was doing this with Jay Donga from Warriors, and I think from the Warriors, he was the first person to really take it ahead. And he said, "Man, I don't know how to go about with this." And when we sat down, so he's from the travels and tourism industry. So I said, "Your tour packages and your hot deals change every 2 weeks as the season changes. You could be offering a tomato festival package in Spain or a hot air balloon in Turkey, but I don't know what you do really. Maybe I'm thinking you're the guy who sells visas for a living." Because, when you're in your own industry, you're in this little nutshell and you're so closed to what's happening around you, you don't realize different things. So it's just about what you want to showcase, which can instantly create a question in someone else's mind as to where can I take this conversation next? And if I do see this, I should think of you first. So
Yeah, recall, and when you show images, it sticks
yeah.
much longer. So the recall is much stronger. Thank you, Mir. Ankita, what tips do you have for that? For somebody who's just looking at this for the first time, maybe new in BNI and overwhelmed, and especially if they're in a service-based or an intangible sort of industry, because both of you, what you do at the end of the day turns out to be tangible. People can touch, look, feel. But yes, absolutely, HR, accountants, or all these service-based industries. Your tips, Ankita.
Yeah, so this happened to me last week where I was having a one-to-one with a cross-chapter member, and she got scared looking at the game sheet. And she said, "I don't know how to generate referrals for you." That was her first reaction, and I had not even started the one-to-one with her.
Wow.
And so that's when I told her, I think we should we'll hear you out first, and then we'll discuss next week. So I'm meeting her again next week, and but yeah, so I'm personally a very big advocate of promoting your own personal ethics, and then I feel that automatically translates to what sort of business ethics and professional ethics you keep, or your own personal brand, personal identity, rather than it working backwards. If you have a strong business, doesn't mean you're necessarily a great leader. You probably have a great team. So I always feel a personal brand should showcase a lot stronger, and I feel that is a lot more easier to create your credibility on for your own business and all the work that you do. That's just my personal thought. So for me, going all out and being creative or using the colors that I've used are all an extension of my own personal personality, or and that's what I wanted to showcase, and I think that's what everybody should do. There is no need to copy anyone. We're all individuals, and even if you have a black and white presentation or just a plain it speaks about what you do, right? The idea is for you to showcase and create a first impression, and first impressions are it's the same. First impressions are the last impressions when it comes to even things like how you dress, right? It should reflect your personality. You can be a very creative person and dress in a quirky way and be in a very serious industry, but then that's just an extension of your personality. So I just feel people should look at what they want to express and show out of this gains sheet, and project that forward, even if it's something fun. Like I used to do theater before. It's nowhere related to my profession, it's nowhere related to BNI. I don't do theater anymore, but it was a fun and a very enriching part of my life. It was in my life for 10 years, and I really wanted to highlight that aspect. It's a great conversational starter.
Amazing. As I'm listening to both of you, a thought occurs to me. Members are expected to do a feature presentation, right? And I find that sometimes some members shy away from that as well. And I'm thinking, when I looked at both of your enhanced gains profiles, that can also be used in a feature presentation, isn't it? Part of it, um, I mean, it can be a basis for a feature presentation if you wanted to. It's a good way to start off your first feature presentation in a chapter if you have to share, who you are as a person. Because, like you said, Mihir, at the end of the day, it's all about people doing business with people. People, like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. The trust will come with, once you deepen those relationships, once they hear others talking about you and how well you do, how good you are at what you do. But the know and like, so the know comes from within BNI. You're visible, you attend meetings, you do one-to-ones. But the like comes from these kind of things, like you said, Ankita, finding a common connect. 10 years in theater, if there's somebody out there who has an interest in theater, then it's just so much easier for them to connect with you. But if they didn't know that about you, then that's a lost opportunity. Fantastic. So, look, I think there's a lot that we can probably talk about and go on. But if you are reading or watching this, click on the link and by all means, download the gains profiles that both Ankita and Mir have shared. Their contact details, I believe, would probably be on that as well. If not, we'll also put it there, and you can reach out to them, do a one-to-one with them if you need any more tips on how to do your enhanced gains. By all means, they'll be there to help, and we'll see if we can actually do a workshop at some point this year. perhaps in anybody's interesting. I don't know if, and I'm sure both of you will be passionate about that, to actually do a workshop where people can actually learn this and then come and create, have a fun day or a fun half day learning this and creating your gain, enhanced gains, I would say. So before we leave, the two things I would like to hear from each of you, if you can share something that has come out of the one-to-ones, especially your enhanced one-to-ones. Share a funny moment that you might have had, and share a success story. As a result of this, something which might have not happened or have taken longer simply because you use an enhanced gains. Something happened and brought some results. If you have something around that to share, that'll be really really great. Whoever wants to go first, just raise your
Ankita
hand
first.
and Ankita first. You've been volunteered.
Yeah.
If you can think of any
Mihir
one,
just wants,
of the
Mihir wants time to think. He's had a lot of volume of one-to-ones than I've had with this new game. But yeah, so no, I had a funny incident where I had a chapter member who's a close friend, and when I sent him the games, he's like, "Do I even need to do a one-to-one with you after this because it's all there?" He's like, why are you even doing one-to-ones? It's all in the sheet. So that was David Prabhu from Insomniacs and his iconic sense of humor. But yes, I think it has got a lot more traction on a serious note than I had imagined it to be. Even to be here with you speaking about it and being out there trying to inspire people to take up a similar thing. Yeah, so this is very very flattering, to be honest, and completely unexpected. I don't think Mihir anticipated this. I didn't anticipate this because we were just doing what we would naturally do in our normal lives, what the amount of quirkiness or creativity we would put into our own brand and whatever projects our brand. I think that's naturally what we were both doing. At least that's what I was doing. I didn't It's amazing that he's inspiring so many people to take it up. In my capacity, my reach has been a lot less as I've been doing this much recent in the most in only in the recent times. But yes, it has been very very impactful. At least when members come in, they're already prepared with what sort of referrals they want to share and what aspect of their contact sphere they can open out to me. So it has been a lot more effective doing one-to-ones with this enhanced game shade.
superb. Thank you, Ankita. Mihir, what can
Uh,
you recall?
so usually the response to this is that, oh my God, I don't have anything to share. And I'm like, we can sit down and do this together. But one of the best things that came out of this was a member asking me, an ex member asking me to help him finish a half marathon because he realized that I'd done a few. And that was amongst his goals for the year. So we literally went out to the beach, and I mean, this has nothing to do with business. And we lit, and I stuck with him the whole time, pushing him through because that was on his checklist to finish. And he didn't see anybody else who would help him achieve that. And if he was doing it alone, he probably wouldn't be there doing it. So, I mean, for him, running a half marathon was amongst the best moments of his life. For me, it was amongst the happiest moments because I was there with him when he finished it, and that was super touching when I could just see how happy he was that he finished it. And that's come through my gain sheet because I love running in general, and it was something that we connected over. Another thing was that, so I mean it's I don't have a lot of funny moments because most people then don't want to really get into it, but it's been really nice. And but what you said earlier, like, that our services are tangible, but like I've realized that every single person I've had this conversation with, it doesn't matter if your services are tangible or intangible, you have something to showcase. Because some people read in numbers, some people read in words, some people absorb pictograms and images faster, some people listen better, and all of us are different types of people in general. But yeah, I mean, it's what connects you fastest to these things. So icons, things, etc., everything's possible. Like it I think a workshop is would be
Fantastic.
incredible. It would be such a fun session.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Mihir and Kita. We're going to leave it at this for today, and we will be bringing on the others that have been mentioned and get them to share their experiences, because I think this is such an important topic. And if each of our members really started taking this on, you can imagine how powerful this would be for everybody. So that's what our intention is this year. Really, our theme is better together. As members, as a community, how can we change the way the world is business? And especially in the last 2 years, what we've learned, during the pandemic, coming together and working together and helping each other. And like Mihir said, it's not just also about business, but it's about how else can we make a difference in people's lives. When you have helped somebody in their half marathon, Mihir, that's something which they're going to remember for a lifetime. And then they'll ever be, so thankful to you for that. So Givers Gain is not just business, it's a way of life, right? It's about seeing how you can help people in so many different ways, and then it comes back in reaps and rewards. Thank you once again, Mihir and Ankita. Great to have you both here today. And we look forward to more of these sessions with more members and sharing their stories and successes. Have a great day,
Thank you
everybody.
so
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for having us.